Hi, Gerhard Bloom, once again, looking at the tyranny and the delusions of the social justice movement. So, yeah, more delusions. And yes, I've noted that certain segment of leftists have finally realized how toxic this ideology is. When you are cheering for, a barbarous organization like Hamas, trying to find some excuse to explain away the atrocities. And then there are others who vehemently deny the reality of the atrocities. Notwithstanding that much of the evidence was filmed by these callous murderers themselves, or scenes of, this murdered, raped German tourist whose body is in the back of the truck, and civilian Palestinians surrounding this truck cheering on this little piece of horror, right? Cheering it on, supportive, right? And to the evidence. Oh no, can't possibly have happened. There was some, I think she was Canadian Palestinian. Oh no, Muslims couldn't do this because Islam is a peaceful religion. No, impossible. I mentioned this before. There's a whole cognitive suite that allows us to suppress disconfirming evidence, right? This cognitive dissonance, this ability in the wake of all evidence to explain away the facts. In addition to the videotapes and photographs and testimony of eyewitnesses, the testimony from leftist media who've seen for themselves the atrocities and explaining to the world, this has happened. Oh no, couldn't have happened. Okay, try this for a little a test here. Check out the Armed Islamic Group, right? GIA, French, right? They do everything backwards. So Armed Islamic Group, or the GIA. This was a militant, yes, Islamic group in Algeria in the 1990s trying to overthrow the government, right? Engaged in barbaric atrocities. Yep, much like these Hamas cowardly, villainous monsters who attacked Israel. And intelligence obviously revealed what we knew all along. They were deliberately targeting civilians. They didn't want anything to do with the Israeli military because they knew they would get their asses handed to them. So they wanted to kill and slaughter as many defenseless Israelis as they can and snatch a few hostages so that, yes, they could use them as human shields. So, Armed Islamic Group, GIA, because it's backwards, and plenty of throats being slit, entire villages slaughtered. Everything that moved was killed, right? Armed Islamic Group. Or, then again, more recently, ISIS. Yep. Torture, mass sexual slavery. Oh no, there was no rapes of the Israeli women. Well, what about all the rapes that ISIS engaged in? And there are lots of Yazidi women who have, discussed the horrors that were visited upon them by these villainous monsters. And yes, beheadings, plenty of beheadings. Oh no beheadings in Israel, none of the little babies. No. Well, what about the mass beheadings ISIS engaged in? They took a captured Jordanian pilot, put this man in a cage, and set him on fire. Right? Murdered tens of thousands of innocent civilians, kidnapped several thousand people, engaged in systematic torture. This is warriors for Allah, right? Everything is excused in advance, because you're fighting, the war for Allah. So stop the denial. And this business of collective punishment. No. When the United States was at war with Nazi Germany, that German people weren't being, suppressed by some, collective punishment. It was war. And the Allies, yes. I had some pinhead on X show me a picture of Gaza before the recent bombings by Israel and now. And yes, there's lots of buildings turned to rubble. Well, Hamburg, Germany, before and after the Allied bombings. Dresden, before and after. Hiroshima, Nagasaki, yeah, the pictures are startling, and plenty of innocent civilians were killed. And yes, it's a tragedy, but it is war. And another thought to consider here is the Hamas, these are not soldiers. Hamas, they're fighters, these cowardly thugs using women and children to keep themselves safe. They're not entitled to anything under the Geneva Conventions. They are not. They have violated the Geneva Convention. They are not, strictly speaking, an army. They have no rights under the Geneva Convention. Zero. As for the Palestinian people, Israel is doing everything it can. And yes, innocent lives will be lost, and have been lost, and more will be lost. Why doesn't Egypt open the door to let them in? They don't want these crazy fanatics who've been brought up since infancy in this poisonous, Islamist ideology. They've had their own troubles with it. Jordan, same thing. They don't want anything to do with these people. And then you have Nikki Haley talking about, she says, walk this back, because I'm thinking, second thought, no, it's stupid, to bring in Palestinian refugees into the United States. We see across the world, the Western world, Arabs and Palestinian supporters, waving the banner of the Palestinians, and some are waving the banner of ISIS. Oh, they don't know. They don't know about the horrors of ISIS. They know completely well about it. It is undeniable, as are the atrocities that were committed by these Hamas murderers. This is willful blindness on your part. And in another context, I spoke about this. You are morally culpable for your moral blindness. Nobody told you. You were raised in this poisonous leftist ideology, university professors telling you this stuff. I'm telling you different. You can call my bluff. You can do your own investigative research. I did mine. I wrote a book about it. All this poisonous nonsense. Read my book, or check out some of the books that I cite in my book, or undertake your own research. No, it is undeniable. You are morally culpable. No collective punishment being visited on the people of Gaza. Open air prison. It's an open air prison. You mean like North Korea and South Korea? Is it in an open air prison? It is a country. It is a border. Its citizens can't just walk into North Korea without getting killed. Why would they want to? Let's face it, right? It's a leftist paradise. So, no, not allowed to go into Israel unless you go through some checkpoints. Much like if I want to go in the United States, I got to show my passport. They do a quick criminal records check on me, and then I go into the United States. Or I could go to the southern border and just walk in. But that's a different story. Crazy times, right? But no, Gaza, not an open-air prison. What's made it an open-air prison are the policies of Hamas, widely supported. Billions of dollars in international aid has been funneled into that country. Why isn't it the Singapore of the Mediterranean? Hamas came out and told you, right? It came out and said, yeah, for the last couple of years, we've been pretending to play this game of development, and no, we've been using that money and that time to plan this attack. And now it is. There it is, right? And yeah, the blowback is coming. It will be awful for the civilians in Palestine, and it is going to happen, and it needs to happen. And Joe Biden had better not cave to international pressure and demand that Israel, negotiate some kind of ceasefire. They tried that, right? And I had some occupied. Gaza's not occupied. Gaza hasn't been occupied since 2005. I don't think Israel has a choice but to occupy it now. We tried non-occupying Gaza. Well, that little experiment turned out badly, didn't it? So if you're a leftist, you're on the side of evil, and your ignorance doesn't explain it away. Somebody has told you that you are on the wrong path. Do some research. And if you come back with, yeah, Israel's a colonial oppressor, go back to the drawing board. you made a left turn at Albuquerque. Anyways, thank you so much for your time and attention. Do check out my book, Deconstructing Social Justice. I explain this poisonous Islamic ideology at length. It is no accident that groups like the GIA or ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Hamas, murderous. Islam is deeply, genocidally anti-Semitic, and it doesn't have much favor for Christians either. That's a fact. Or secular society. That brings up the question, why the hell are, these Arabs from around the, these shithole countries from around the world, from Syria, from Lebanon, Palestine, or the Palestinian states, there is no Palestine. Why are they in the United States and Western Europe and Australia? Why don't they go back to the shithole countries and fight for their jihad if they're so much in favor of it? They come to Western Europe and North American countries, and then they advocate for the violence that turns our countries into war-torn, poverty-stricken shitholes. Go back or shut up and play the liberal democratic game. Just my thoughts. I hope I'm not being too insensitive here. Anyways, thanks so much for your time and attention. And please do drop a thumbs up. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.